Happy Columbus Day to all you die-hard Columbus Day people.
Or Indigenous Peoples Day.
Or celebrators of Columbus Day, right?
Sure.
The diehards. Let's celebrate.
Yeah. I don't think there are many people you're talking to right now.
I want to know, and I know people are going to get mad about this, but I just have to ask, because we're going to do an episode related to this next week. How long until it's not called Columbus Day anymore?
It's already being...
I know it's being petitioned, but when is it going to happen?
I don't think very long. I think that the public narrative, anyway, is changing pretty quickly.
So is it going to be called, like, Discover Day?
No, Indigenous Peoples Day.
Oh.
That's a thing.
But that's what we're going to do to celebrate the...
It's shifting the focus from Columbus.
But shouldn't we celebrate the discovery of our country? I'm in a broad sense.
Sure, but I think that's the whole point, is that we brush over the mass genocide that occurred.
He didn't do that.
Okay.
Columbus didn't.
Okay.
No, he just discovered it.
Okay.
Right?
I don't think that's true.
He wasn't part of, like, the...
I think that's part of conquering new land, is that they had to conquer by...
Yeah, but he wasn't on, like, the Mayflower and stuff.
I know. That's not the point. But I'm saying there was, like, a mass genocide of indigenous people who were already living here who got, taken over.
Sure, yeah.
By the Europeans. And that's kind of lost in what we learn in the history classes.
But that sounds like something we shouldn't celebrate.
It's not an acknowledgement. It's honoring, just like Memorial Day. You're honoring soldiers who died. You're honoring the indigenous people that were lost.
Or we can call it, like, Voyager Day.
I don't know. We'll see.
Welcome to While She's Napping. This is what you can look forward to. I am Adam.
And I'm Cindy.
I mean, no disrespect. It's just next week we're going to talk about, PC?
I think so.
Yeah. And...
political correctness.
Yeah. And obviously this is... I wouldn't say it's a hot button issue anymore.
I think it kind of is. But I don't think it's so much about political correctness as it is about just people taking issue with how history is taught and told and some of the things that get lost. Which is abundantly clear. As we have this discussion, we're fuzzy on the details and don't have a full understanding. So I think that's a very legitimate argument.
I'm not trying to disrespect. It was my understanding. I know Columbus, or so they say. I shouldn't say I know this. I legitimately do not know this. Mm-hmm. I have no reason to doubt people that are way smarter than me. They say he was a slave owner, correct? Columbus?
I think that was pretty much the standard.
It is my understanding, though, that he didn't conquer any land here in America. He just discovered it by accident and then went back.
Even if that's the case, I think that it ultimately that resulted in...
Correct, right.
Right.
Into the Mayflower coming over and starting to conquer.
It continued, right.
Virginia, right? Virginia is where they landed?
I believe so. I mean,
you watched Pocahontas.
Wow. Yes, that was in Virginia.
That's
yes,
the
Jamestown.
only way.
Yes. I was just we're from New England, and I'm thinking about Plymouth and Plymouth Rock in Massachusetts.
Oh, is that what happened first?
I don't know. We need to brush up on our history. This is
I don't
bad.
know. We get our history lessons from cartoons, apparently.
Well, we learned it in school, but it's been a while. And like I said, I think that's part of the thing that people take issue with is that the complete history of our country is really not taught very well.
No, they're teaching kids to hate America.
Clearly.
To hate it.
Yes.
And not, I don't know. Makes you wonder if he wants us if he looks at North Korea and he says, that's a good idea.
Talking about the president?
Well, yeah.
Who?
People
North Korea?
People that reinforce this notion that kids are being taught to hate America.
Right. Are they being taught that that's...
Well, I'm just saying, do you think they look at North Korea and they say, that's actually not a bad idea, what they're doing?
Oh, like the ultra-patriotism?
Yeah, and the propaganda and whatnot.
Probably. I mean, we're not that far from the...
We are far.
From the propaganda piece.
We are way far from North Korea's propaganda.
Fair, but we're going to get into something similar
sure.
today.
But we are far from what they do.
You're right, but I'm saying there are examples of very extreme propaganda. I can just see the needle ticking every day.
If North Korea is a 10, we're probably at like a 3-4 max. I'm
Fair.
saying nationwide.
Fair, but I'm saying it's scary to see the level of propaganda and just craziness that people believe. And that's what
Sure,
we're going to talk about
sure.
today.
All right, yeah. So if you're here today, obviously you know that we're going to talk about QAnon. First of all, if you're here for the first time because the conspiracy theory, or if you want to think this is the truth, red pills. If you think this is legitimate, hey, welcome. This should be fun. If you're listening to us for the first time, we encourage you to subscribe to the show. Again, if you're new here for the month of October minus 1 week, I think we're going to do this the last week. I don't even know. I'm sketchy on the details. Basically, for the majority of the month of October, we're going to be talking about issues or topics related to the upcoming United States election. In the first week, we talked about, Second Amendment.
And gun
That's what we
reform.
talked about last week.
Yep.
This week, we're going to talk about QAnon. Next week, we're going to talk about political correctness. And I guess we're going to talk about just the election in general for the final week.
Yeah, that last Sunday is 2 days before the election.
Okay,
so
yeah, so
when
we'll-
we'll be recording. So that might just be like a therapy session.
We'll do our predictions,
God.
our over-unders on the election. And then we'll do some Halloween stuff.
Somewhere in there.
Somewhere. But that being said, we'd like to welcome you. You should subscribe to the show if any of those topics interest you. And even if they don't, we have a whole backlog of stuff that you can listen to. If any of the topics that tickle your fancy, if you dig into our archives and you see them and you like them, take a listen. They are timeless. They are not dependent on when they were released. We encourage you to explore. We encourage you to get involved, have a conversation with us if you want. We appreciate the back and forth so much so. We'd like to thank people that listened to the Second Amendment episode, which did fairly well. On YouTube, we had a nice comment on YouTube. We appreciate that.
From Australia.
From Australia, yes, we appreciate that. And also from Reddit, we're getting a lot of positive feedback off the Reddit boards. We appreciate the positivity. We appreciate the back and forth. It means a lot to us, and means that people seem to find you interesting. They don't find me interesting.
Well, I couldn't do it myself.
Who am I?
I need someone to argue with.
Well, look, I make you look good just by standing next to you.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm that guy. And when they hear me talk, it's, this guy sucks.
Shut up.
This guy's terrible. Anyways, hey, so yeah, if you're listening to this for the first time, we encourage you to subscribe to the show. Whatever platform you're listening to this on, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, CastBox. Again, we're on the YouTubes. Please subscribe, give us a like, tell your friends about this show if you enjoy it. Again, look, podcasting, what I've learned, word of mouth is key. So if you enjoy the content of the show, if you enjoy previous episodes and you know people that like similar podcasts to this, we encourage you to recommend this show to them. We'd love to expand the audience even more than we already have. And to keep the conversation going. It means a lot to us. Moreover, we'd like to thank those from the United States, Canada, Australia, as you mentioned, the United Kingdom, France, India, New Zealand, and Poland. What up? You guys are new. How you doing? We probably have weird accents too. Specifically within the United States, we'd like to thank those from Rhode Island, Florida, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Texas, Illinois, Delaware, Virginia, California, New York, Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Maryland, Missouri, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and of course, parts unknown. We appreciate the engagement. We appreciate the downloads. We appreciate all the support. If you'd like to get involved and you'd like to talk to us on any of our social media platforms, you can do so by...
You can contact us on Facebook, which is at facebook.com/whileshe'snapping. We're on Instagram at whileshe'snapping, or on Twitter at she'snappingpod, or you can email us at whileshe'snapping@gmail.com.
Queensland, Australia is where we're getting the listens.
Nice.
So what's up, Queensland? You're the land of the Queen. I would assume that's what it means. Unintentional freestyle there.
That's
What
so
up?
insightful.
Well, I mean, I could have said San Diego whale's vagina
Okay.
from, you never seen Anchorman?
Yes, but I don't remember
San Diego.
I don't remember that.
Of course.
It's been too long.
Translated to whale's vagina.
That's right.
I think it means Saint Diego. No. No, it doesn't. All right. So today we're going to talk about QAnon. Now, it should be noted that we did brush on this in our conspiracy theory episodes. If conspiracy theories are of interest to you, again, not to be redundant, we encourage you to dig back into the archives and download that episode. When you are finished listening to this one, we want to just unpack this. It's important to note that Cindy and I, right off the bat, are not QAnons. We do not believe it. We do not follow it. And as far as I know, we don't believe in any conspiracy theories. I mean, maybe? No?
Nope.
I mean, to these people that, love QAnon, or to, maybe some Republicans that are listening, climate change is a conspiracy theory. So maybe those people
So maybe it's a good time to mention that I'm an environmental scientist.
Right.
That's not... It's not even, it annoys me when people ask, do you believe in climate change? It's not, and I've seen this meme going around and it's kind of succinct and to the point. It's not Santa Claus. It's not something you believe in or not. It's
according to them.
I know. That's why it's funny. Anyway, that's a side note.
So as far as I know, we don't believe in any conspiracy theories. Hopefully that remains true. But
to the point where when we did the conspiracy theory episode, I wasn't even really familiar with QAnon. Remember, you were telling me about the Wayfair cabinet conspiracy theory, and that was kind of related to. And you asked me, do you know what QAnon is? I'm like, I kind of heard of it.
Pedophiles.
Yeah,
it always boils down to pedophiles
and sex trafficking and all that. So
right. So, look, as far as I know, we don't buy into any conspiracy theories. I think the Earth is round, always has been. I do think someone landed on the moon. Maybe the contrary to well-known conspiracy theories. To the believer, we believe in conspiracy theories, right?
I really can't even think of an example.
No, like the contrary, right? So since I believe someone landed on the moon, that means to the non-believers of that, I believe in a conspiracy.
Right, you're buying into the conspiracy of reality.
So I'm on this side of the conspiracy theory.
We're on the reality side.
Yes, the tangible proof side of all that. So how do we unpack this? So I did some investigation into this, and immediately I'm just...
Yeah, hold on. Okay, I'm ready.
Immediately I'm thinking to myself, I can just visualize the type of person that believes in these types of things. And I don't want to generalize. That makes me sound so tribal when it comes to this, but as far as I know, and from what I've seen based on videos and various posts in message boards, misspelled and the grammar is all over the place, it seems as though people that buy into conspiracy theories such as these, like the extreme ones, this anti-vax, flat earth, they seem to be more or less, now this isn't an absolute, more or less uneducated in the advanced, like I'm talking college educated.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably something to that. I think we touched on this during the conspiracy theory episode too, but I think there's a lot more to it in terms of, and we're going to talk a little bit about the social media aspect and Facebook's recent stance on this. And I think the way that information is available and the way that it's presented, like even we talked about Plandemic on a previous episode too, and the way that that's packaged and presented, I don't think it's, I mean, I do still think that it blows my mind how people fall so deep into it and can't see through these things. But at the same time, I don't think it's presented in such a way to suck you in. Like there are algorithms behind what you see on social media and things like that, and it gets reinforced, and that's a whole phenomenon in and of itself. But I also think specific to QAnon, there's a legitimate kind of heart-tugging message that draws people in with the whole Save the Children thing. And I think that can draw in very intelligent, well-intentioned, good-hearted people who are like, of course I don't want children to be hurt or to be trafficked or to be sold, for sex. Like, that's awful. Of course I don't like pedophiles. Like, and so that draws them in. But that's actually seems like it's a strategy of diehard QAnoners. Is that
to rope you in?
QAnons,
Yeah,
I guess.
QAnons.
Yes, to get to draw in new people so it's very intentional, and it's gross to me that they're taking advantage of such an awful subject just to get more people bought into their craziness. And so I have empathy for people who get drawn in through that route, because, like, of course, if you see something that says save the children and they're like, help us in this mission to save children, like, I don't think you have to be uneducated to feel drawn to that.
No. I'm just saying I think there's a link between, and again, this isn't an absolute. There are people out there that are college educated, that are actually members of Congress today.
I know.
Not just running, that are members of Congress today that, I don't want to say buy into it, but feel it's a good thing.
So, yeah.
Well, hold on. Let me define what QAnon is. So it's basically, it's deeply rooted into the far right, and I really hate using this far right, far left terminology, but
it's just reality that a lot of things have become political.
There are hardly any left-leaning or,
liberal or
historically or whatever, stereotypically liberal people that buy into this. It alleges that it's a cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles, and immediately I'm just like, why do you? The usage of the word cabal is so compelling to people that I think they're thinking, what the fuck is a cabal, right? Like, when I first heard cabal, I'm thinking, oh, that was a Mortal Kombat character. Because it was.
It?
Yeah, it was a dude named Cabal. He used to run really fast and spin you around, and he had hooks. And I'm thinking, what the fuck is a cabal? So when you...
What does it actually mean? What's the definition
I don't know.
of cabal? I don't know either.
I'll click on it right now.
I thought you knew because you remember.
It's a large group of people.
Oh, okay. that was underwhelming.
Why couldn't you just say a group of people? Like, the usage of the word cabal to me is immediately compelling, and it makes it sound legitimate to these people, right? So it must be legit,
right? Because
they're using this. I don't know. I don't want to say.
I was gonna say big word, but it's not really. It's a word. It's a like an advanced
it's an
vocabulary.
Obtuse word that you wouldn't normally use, right? It's outside the scope of everyday language, right? So
it's like these people know something that I don't.
Right. Yeah. So you're thinking, oh, this must be legit. Anyway, so it's a cabal of Satan worshipping pedophile that is running a global child sex trafficking ring, and it's plotting against Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is now in opposition of these people, and he's secretly trying to, I don't want to say coerce, but he's trying to clean up the swamp to get rid of all of these people and expose them. And Q is an informant within the intelligence agency,
high up in the government,
that leaves little breadcrumbs and clues on various message boards, such as what used to be 8chan is 8kun now, and it was
originally 4chan, right?
It was 4chan, then 8chan, now it's 8kun.
Okay.
KUN, as far as I know. Because 4chan and 8chan were shut down. So by the government.
Right.
So
and they'll probably say that's because they don't want people to know these things.
So to me, I'm just and some people that are QAnons believe that JFK Jr. is Q.
Yeah.
Some believe that Q isn't just one person; it's like a multitude of people working together.
A cabal.
Yeah. Well, no, not a cabal.
I know. It's the same definition.
So what grabs my attention immediately from this is it's always Satan worshipping pedophiles. You have to go for the most extreme thing you can possibly think of to make you really be attached to that and really hook onto your emotions to draw you in. Like, what could possibly be worse than Satan worshipping pedophiles that not only are pedophiles, that's terrible.
Yeah, I was going to say there's more to it.
But now they're adding into the fact that there's a global child sex trafficking ring.
Well, and so the next step is they harvest children or babies to and they're cannibalistic, and they
want adrenochrome. Yes.
Yeah, that's like a hallucinogenic or some kind of substance that
have you ever
gives them
seen
power
Fear and
or
Loathing?
something? No.
Okay, so Fear and Loathing Hunter S. Thompson, to Johnny Depp.
Yep.
I think he actually takes adrenochrome. It's an actual thing. It's the adrenaline in you, and it fucks you up.
Yeah.
According to Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, I have no reason to believe that Hunter S. Thompson was lying about these things.
Sure.
And so I guess you take that and they say, oh, these people that are in power really want this drug because it gets them high. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, when the fuck do they have time to do this? And if they were really obsessed with adrenochrome, and it takes a lot right now to run the country and to work in Congress. When the fuck do they have time to be taking this adrenochrome without anybody noticing? No one ever notices that they're fucked up on adrenochrome. When do they have the time?
And if they were doing it, if this was as prevalent as they say it is, like the level of trafficking and the number of children that are harmed by this, wouldn't they have a lot of adrenochrome to go around?
It's not just that. It's, okay, so they think Biden or Obama or
and the Clintons,
Pelosi is part of this, right? Don't you think they've been in Congress for so long? Biden, what, 47 years, 42 years, whatever?
In government, yeah.
Right. Don't you think within that timeline?
Well, they'll say that his his gaffes and his whatever are like...
No. I'm saying if you're on adrenochrome, you are fucked up. It is incomparable to a natural state.
Okay.
If you're semi-drunk or semi-high on pot or even on coke, you can sort of get away with it. Like,
no, but I'm
people
saying,
noticing.
But people who I see what you're saying, that it's more extreme. But I think that they're saying, we'll see, like he has these episodes where he forgets and he's crazy. Obviously, he's
okay. That aside, within 42 years, don't you think someone
right,
fucking took a video of it?
I know, it's great. We're going down the rabbit hole way too far because this is ridiculous.
So they're trying to create recognition on Twitter, and Facebook was the mega platform for this in terms of a social expansion of it to get people to hop on board with this, as in anything like anti-vax or any of those MLMs that we were talking about.
Well, I think
it's the same shit.
Because there are groups and pages, it's more, I think it's easier to connect and coalesce in groups of like-minded people.
And that's how they suck you in. They say, hey, like, there are these high-level, high-important people that are trying to take your kids away, and they want to profit off of a child sex trafficking ring. They're raping your kids. They're selling them for sex, and newborn babies, they're killing them to get the adrenochrome.
Right, that's what it was.
What could be worse?
I know. Wasn't there something about lizard people?
Yeah, but that's not even bad. Like,
but what does it have to do with anything?
Like, in the abstract, I would not mind hanging out with the lizard person. I'd have a problem hanging out with the fucking rapist.
But I'm saying, even if you buy into it that far because you're legitimately concerned about pedophilia and sex trafficking, when they get to the lizard people part,
it's not necessary for this.
Okay, so it's
indispensable to this.
Okay, so there's a small segment. Yeah. So not all Anons believe in the lizard people.
Right.
Okay.
Just like not all Anons believe in the flat earth.
Okay. So it's kind of a separate but related thing.
So this is an amalgam of all conspiracy theories sort of wrapped up into one, because you can trace this cabal to flat earth, to lizard
JFK
people, to JFK, to now COVID, to 9/11, to all these conspiracy theories that people doubt, like the legitimacy of 9/11, all that. It centers right to Q in the center. And normally this wouldn't be a big deal. Normally I just laugh it off, just like the 9/11, the deniers or it was an inside job. Sort of just laugh it off, or flat earthers. I'm thinking to myself,
no harm.
What are they? I don't care. You want to believe in a flat earth? It doesn't bother me. If you want to believe in QAnon, it doesn't necessarily bother me, but there are ramifications to how it affects everybody else, even the non-believers. On the one hand, it's going to affect the election, and on the other hand, it can affect someone's livelihood, or in some cases, their life, like Pizzagate.
Right. Yeah. You should probably mention.
So
what that
Pizzagate was a conspiracy perpetuated by the QAnons, that there was a pizza place, I don't necessarily know where, as a pizza parlor, that there was rumored that the Clintons were housing or utilizing the basement of the pizza place as an underground sex trafficking ring. Turns out some dude believed in this so much that he went there with a gun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he shot up the owner or whatever, but there was violence involved. The police were called, and the place didn't even have a basement.
Right.
And it was wrong.
Completely baseless.
It was baseless. It was made up, and it was wrong. And that's an example of how this can be dangerous. You believe in something so much that you just trust it.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, if to go to that extreme, that sounds like such a basic level of fact checking that's absent. Like, if you're planning an attack on a place, like, wouldn't you even just look at the plans? Like, especially if they thought that their objective was to go and save any of the children who were being held in the basement or whatever, they wouldn't have tried to like scope out the building to see how to access the basement and get the kids out. And like, there's so much missing to that whole plot if it was a legitimate effort to try to do something of value other than just impose violence. You know what I mean? Like, it just makes no sense on so many levels.
I just think that they get super passionate about it because it is a touchy subject.
And they just don't ask questions. They just go with it.
So that's what I mean about the uneducated part of this, is that I do believe that with anything, right, when it comes to whether you're a professional in the plumbing industry, whether you're a music engineer, whether you're an electrician, if I said to you, you don't have to be, you don't need book smarts, you don't need to be know-it-all in electrician work to do it. I watch YouTube videos and look at things on Facebook, so therefore I know. I know your craft. No, that's completely disrespecting that person's craft, right? It takes years, not just to master it, but it takes years in that form of research and education in order to get good at it. Right. When it comes to just researching things in general and being able to sift out bullshit and being able to recognize poorly constructed memes, guys, these aren't even good. It's like they're made in paint.
Yeah.
They're not good. In order to be able to sort of sift through that and recognize it as bullshit, I think you do need a level, maybe not a level of high education, but you do need a level of awareness that something's wrong here.
Well, the irony that I see in this and any conspiracy or any of the things you're talking about, like you're saying, it's like people who deny climate change despite the thousands of scientists who have dedicated their entire professional lives to studying this thing. Yet someone who's done a little Googling or Facebooking thinks that they know the real story. Same thing with vaccination or COVID or anything like that. It's ironic to me because I feel like a lot of times the narrative from these types of people is, wake up, you're being misled, you can't see the truth.
Well, that's it. Anytime I see wake up, I know you automatically,
I know. It's like, but you're blindly believing shit you see on social media and thinking that it's more legitimate than science and peer-reviewed literature.
We're in a period where science is, I can't say legitimately being denied because that sounds immediately like an oxymoron.
Oh, the denial is more, it's like...
The denial is legitimate. People are denying.
Right, I'm saying, and that is more accepted than it used to be. I feel like people think, and then people go with the whole... well, that's just my opinion. We can differ in opinion. We can disagree and still be civil. Right. But like we're talking about basic facts, like basic science.
When you say there's an underground cabal of Satan worshiping pedophiles,
that's not an opinion. That's not opinion. Reality.
That is an accusation.
Yeah.
That is a high level accusation. If someone ever accused me of that, it depends. If someone I knew accuse me of that, I'd be upset. If someone listens to this, like a QAnon listens to this, and they say Adam and Cindy are part of the cabal, I'd say,
clearly,
whatever, bro.
Yeah.
That's sure. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
And I don't care.
Right.
So when it comes to people that are just nameless and faceless behind a screen, I don't care. You can say whatever you want. But to call high-level officials these because you disagree with their politics and you think they're trying to destroy the world due to their politics, that is a high accusation. And what the irony engine is not lost on me when it comes to the people that they are pinpointing as the elite that are, perpetuating this sex trafficking ring, quote unquote, but they adhere and admire and worship Donald Trump, who is a fucking millionaire, maybe, but he's a fucking millionaire and he represents the elite.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think he was doing before?
That's what I think they feel like he's like he's a mole, like he's infiltrated the elite to stand up for what's right. I think that's what they'll come back with.
It's because
you can't argue. There's always a reason. There's always an excuse.
The thing. You can't and that's with anything. It's, well, you don't have any evidence for that. Dude, I don't have any evidence that there's not a can of Chef Boyardee on the moon. Doesn't mean there is one. Right? We can't, just because I don't have evidence for it, we can pretty much conclude there's not a can of Chef Boyardee fucking D on the moon.
Right.
There's not ravioli right now chilling on the moon with the stove. We can probably say that with near 100% certainty.
Right.
Obviously,
it's hard to prove a negative.
In statistics, there's a non-zero chance that the astronauts dropped a can of Chef Boyardee on the moon. Sure. But chances are there's not. Just because you can't prove that it's not there doesn't mean it's there. And that's the thing.
Right.
When people say, oh, that's just my opinion, 2 + 2 is 5, it's my opinion, man. No, you're wrong. Right. You're just wrong. And when it comes to the reality of these things, no, I can't prove that Hillary and Bill Clinton are not the ringleaders of a sex trafficking thing. I can't prove that. But you can't prove they do. And when you make these accusations, the burden of proof is on you. It is not on us, the non-believers, to prove that they're not doing this. Right. If you accuse someone of murder, that person going on trial, it's not, you have to convince the jury that he did murder these people.
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yes, that's the whole point. You can't just make these claims and say, it's my opinion. No, it's not.
Right.
That's more than an opinion.
Especially when it has, like you said, such wide-ranging impacts, like from, just the basics of accusing someone of something so disgusting, and, ruining their name or career or whatever. But then there's this whole trickle down into, like you said, it's connected to everything else, like vaccination and climate change and COVID in particular. I feel like there's so much overlap now with people who believe in QAnon and these types of conspiracies and who are also anti-maskers and who are not taking COVID seriously and think it's a hoax. And that's just hurting everyone for people to be irresponsible and to think that they don't have to follow the rules and, to go to the grocery store without a mask because they think it's okay because Q told them that it's just part of this whole plan to distract us away from sex trafficking of children.
What it boils down to is they want something to belong to because, when you think of, again, there are not, super strong or robust connections to these things. But I mentioned this on the fat acceptance episode that we did. I said it basically boils down to people that were unfairly ridiculed because of, some aesthetic thing. They found a community that they want to belong, and there's some acceptance to it, and they feel like they belong to something, right? They, for the first time, maybe in their lives, they're part of a group that accepts them for who they are, and they don't have to worry about the way they look or how they think and how they perceive things. I can see related or sort of parallel to that when it comes to groups like this, anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, flat earths. When you become part of a group, it's now I belong to something. I'm no longer ridiculed because of the way I think about things. I'm no longer told I'm stupid or crazy because a pocket of people that represent the vast minority of people on the earth, really, they believe it too. And the thing is that
it validates
for them.
Right. It validates them.
Or reinforces.
And that's what I mean. Yeah.
And the thing is, there are probably some people within this Q community, probably very few, but some in the Q community or flat earthers that don't necessarily believe in it anymore, but can't escape
because
now they don't have friends
because
they just abandoned everyone before.
Because it's a cult.
Yes, it is a cult. It most certainly it is. And that is what's depressing about it, because once you become part of this, you can't leave.
Right.
And if you do, you're part of the elite now.
Sure.
You're the enemy.
Yeah.
The enemy got you.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no escaping it. So once you're in this, you're fucking in it for life. Or you just go on to the next conspiracy.
Right.
That morphs from this.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like how flat Earth was this, and it just turned
right.
into this.
And I remember now that you said that about how this is kind of like a bunch of all of the conspiracy theories rolled into one, and there's all these connections. And I think that's part of it. Is things are so crazy right now, and you hear about all these tragic things happening, and I think people feel so out of control. And being able to draw connections between events that seem like they're so far removed from us, like I think about JFK's assassination or whatever, like things that are completely unrelated to your life, and there's someone telling you, no, look, it's all connected, and you can play a part in changing the trajectory of how this goes. And that is appealing to people because I think it gives them something to focus on, and they feel like they have some control over these things that really, our control is pretty limited, and in your own sphere of influence, but it's not all connected in the way that they present it.
Let's pause here because I want to come back and I want to talk about more how this is going to affect the election and why this is so dangerous in that regard. So hang tight, we'll be right back. All right, so the thing that got me the most and what I want to pay attention to the most, this was actually addressed to Trump in a news conference, in a White House news conference about Q. So hold on, let's just to paint a clear picture. Here's the clip.
During the pandemic, the QAnon movement appears to be gaining a lot of followers. Can you talk about what you think about that and what you have to say to people who are following this movement right now?
Well, I don't know much about the movement other than I understand they like me very much, which I appreciate. But I don't know much about the movement. I have heard that it is gaining in popularity, and from what I hear, these are people that when they watch the streets of Portland, when they watch what happened in New York City in just the last 6 or 7 months, but this was starting even 4 years ago when I came here, almost 4 years, can you believe it? These are people that don't like seeing what's going on in places like Portland and places like Chicago and New York and other cities. I've heard these are people that love our country and they just don't like seeing it. So I don't know really anything about it other than they do supposedly like me.
So to me, that's just dangling the fucking carrot right to them. And this is part of the dichotomy or the dexterity when it comes to Trump. And even that might be giving him too much credit in terms of how he analyzes and critiques things. But you can look at this in one of two ways. Either he legitimately doesn't know who they are and he thinks, well, they like me, and he's just placating them to make them vote.
He's probably seen people holding up Q signs or wearing Q shirts at his rallies. Yeah.
Or he knows who they are and, still maintaining the reality that this is all bullshit, and he's just fucking with them. It's
not losing
twofold.
Votes at the same
time. Yes. So the constant in this, he doesn't want to lose the support. But you can say either he doesn't know who they are and I don't want to lose them, so I'm not going to badmouth them, or he knows who they are, he knows exactly what they believe, and he's just fucking with them.
But here's the thing. If he was really that smart, he would know that he could say, I don't know who QAnon is. I don't know what you're talking about. Next question. And the QAnons would say, yeah, he can't draw attention to himself. He can't acknowledge us. That would give him away.
Right.
It wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
It would not matter.
But to me, that's just boner fuel for them.
It's like with what he did with the Proud Boys. It's the same thing.
It's
it was
boner fuel.
4 words.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes
Just
to embolden them.
A waterfall in their pants right now. And that's the thing. You can't fight people that are believers in QAnon with this because that legitimized it to them, right?
Which is silly because he literally
didn't even say anything.
No, yeah, that's what it's so funny. He said, I don't know who they are in the beginning of his answer, and
but
then
I know they
talked
me.
about them for like a minute, or talked
he
about
didn't
whatever.
talk
No,
about
he talked
anything
about the
that they
protests,
believe.
and he talked.
Right.
He like derailed a little bit. He says, I don't know who they are, and then he talks for a minute or so, and then says, I don't know who they are again, but I like them because they like me.
He knows the groups that support him. He
Mhm.
has to.
Right.
And, sure, maybe he's just too dumb to pay attention to that
he
stuff.
spends so much time on Twitter. He must
He's
be
gotta.
seeing stuff.
But, when he's saying, it's my understanding that they love this country, sure, I don't doubt that they do. I don't doubt that QAnons love America. But I do doubt that they have a concrete understanding that what they're perpetuating may have serious consequences, especially the way it spreads. Because look, when you put to someone, if I said to you, say you didn't have a horse in this race when it comes to the election, you were sort of politically
Apathetic.
Yeah, that's a good word. I was going to say neutral, but neutral sort of implies that you have an understanding of what's going on. But let's just say you just don't pay attention to politics and you're into, I don't know, sports. And I said to you, hey, look, here's the deal. Let me give you a crash course as to what this election means. You can vote for Trump, and the way your life personally for the past 4 years has been going probably won't change much. It will probably be the same. But on top of that, we have this guy in office right now, Trump, that's trying to fight this child sex trafficking ring, this cabal of Satan worshipers that love their adrenochrome. I know a lot of terminology, just stick with me. Those things we can acknowledge are bad. So you want to vote for this guy that's going to try to combat that. Or you can vote for Biden that actually loves doing that stuff.
Right.
Actually,
part of the cabal.
He's a Satan worshiper and loves to rape kids and sniff them and stuff. So who are you going to vote for? Right. And when you push those two, fucking options to people,
completely not based in reality.
Yeah, any person that obviously didn't, if your head's in the sand, didn't know what's going on, you're saying, well, I don't want to vote for
right.
the rapist.
Yeah.
And when you constantly push this false information out there to people that are fucking gullible or stupid or both, it's going to catch on to those people. And that's the thing. People that call other people sheep or sheeple or, oh, you're wearing a mask, sheep, or you're getting vaccinated, sheep, or whatever.
It's so ironic.
How do you not see that you're believing in baseless shit?
You're being brainwashed.
But and what's awesome is Trump is pushing a vaccine.
Right. By the end of the year, by the election.
And what's awesome is Trump took fucking medicine that involves stem cells from aborted fetuses.
I know. The irony does not end. I know.
So what are we doing? What are we actually pushing here? And the fact that for some reason, it's really hard, and I'm not saying they don't exist, it's really hard to find similar or as dire or as, severe conspiracy theories on the left. Maybe it's climate change. Maybe that's the thing.
I can't think of anything
gay
else.
rights.
I mean, how is that a conspiracy?
I don't know. I
That's
don't
the thing.
know.
I mean, I think people they think that it's not real, like climate change or whatever, or they think that...
I can see why someone would deny that. I don't agree with the denial, but I can see why that's very overly complicated, and they're thinking, this doesn't make sense to me. It's got to be fake.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying? I can understand why someone who doesn't have the proper research skills or education, in their background can say, yeah, I don't know. I'm going outside and it feels kind of good. It's cold. You know, like,
I guess there's a pretty simple way to explain
yes,
it. But
I understand that. But to someone that doesn't know any better, I
Yeah.
can understand why they would deny it.
But all the other things that you're saying, like if they disagree with gay rights, or they don't, take
Abortion.
non-binary gender seriously,
Sure.
if they don't think they're, you know what I mean, like
Or
transgender
abortion
thing.
in general.
Sure.
Like,
But there's no conspiracies behind that.
I'm sure they can spout
but
out
it's
stuff that we're
not-
not familiar with. I
But
don't know.
but it's not mainstream in the way that these other things.
Maybe
Like everyone
this
has
is connected, right?
but people
The
know what flat
abortion
Earth is.
rights would yield this adrenochrome to
Oh,
people.
it probably is all related. But again, where's everybody in QAnon and all of the pro-lifers protesting against Trump taking drugs that contain like they're anti-vax because
it was
of this?
necessary to save Q+.
But this is what I mean. Like I can't. I don't get it.
That's what they call them, Q+.
Q plus. That's Trump's code.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
Q+. It's like A+,
Yeah.
but Q.
Yeah, I don't
He
get it.
He got a Q+ on the test,
Yeah.
on the question.
But like you're saying,
Hold on.
it
Why
okay.
Q? What? Why do they choose Q?
I think that was the original post.
No, I know, but what?
There is a reason. I read it. I can't forget what I forget
All
what
right,
it was.
I interrupted
but
you. Go
anyway,
ahead.
no, I was going to say why this is again related to the election is that this is becoming political because we do have people in our government who are trying to combat this conspiracy theory because of the level of misinformation that comes out related
Right.
to COVID and all these other important things that are swaying people in how they vote and whether or not they support different beneficial movements.
And I think that's important to know. And I know you're going to bring up how Congress is acting against QAnon right now, but it is important to note that when you have Congress or the federal government or what have you combat or fight against your movement, like QAnon or the Proud Boys or whatever, it's sort of to them in the same way legitimizes it,
Yep.
especially when it comes to conspiracy theories, because their act now or their line of thinking is, oh, they're trying to halt the truth.
Right, they want to cover it up.
They
They
want
to shut us up.
off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, the House recently passed a bipartisan legislation.
So both sides here.
Sorry, resolution.
Both sides.
It was co-sponsored by a Republican and a Democrat, and then it was it was supported by 5 other congressmen that were bipartisan.
There you
was
go.
a group, some Republicans, some Democrats.
I'm sure it
But-
was 3-2.
I don't remember.
It has to be, right?
Well, the final vote was 371 to 18. So there were 18 that did not want this to pass.
I'm sure they're all
17
Republicans.
Republicans.
Oh, 17.
One is a Democrat that used to be
There you go.
recently converted from
Oh, he's the
Republican to
mole.
Democrat. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
He's the sleeper cell.
And then there's that the Republican who's running for the House this year in Georgia, who's prominently
Unopposed.
Is she unopposed?
She's running unopposed.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marjorie
Green,
Taylor
right?
Greene. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was even in that documentary we watched.
She's batshit crazy.
Yeah. And she's expected to win her race this November.
Who posts videos of her talking about Q, and she pretty
so
much
openly, like it's fact.
Yeah, she is sucking the teat of Donald Trump as president. The world will see that he's the greatest president of all time, and blah blah blah. Like, I'm sorry, dude. No.
Yeah.
No.
But you're right. There's all these efforts to stop the the spiral of this misinformation that's being perpetuated by these conspiracy theorists. And every time, like you said, when this happens, it's just
It
legitimizes
it
and
to
then same
them.
thing with Facebook. Just last week, I think, banned all QAnon content. And we were talking about if it was just Facebook, but I said, well, Facebook owns Instagram. And it is. So it will ban any pages, groups, and Instagram accounts that represent the conspiracy theory QAnon from the platform.
Right.
So, yeah. And I think related to that is the confusion between QAnon posts and conspiracies with legitimate organizations and efforts to stop sex trafficking and pedophiles and things like that. And it's interesting because I actually do follow one person. I have someone from my past that I'm not really in contact with anymore, not friends on Facebook anymore. Shocking. But I do still follow this person on Instagram. And I have seen them post a lot of QAnon content constantly.
Yeah, it should be noted that the hashtag that they sort of hijacked was Save the Children or Save Our Children or both.
I think it was both, and I think that's part of the problem.
Well, Save the Children is what I'm most familiar with them.
From QAnon.
Yeah, hijacking.
Yep. But I think Save Our Children, I've also seen that too. And so I've seen this person post those things with the silly memes or, some the other stuff behind it.
They're not even good.
I know. But then I've also seen this person who I know is a very devout Christian, pretty typical conservative on everything else, very pro-life,
Sure.
all that. But it's no surprise to me that she's someone who would be, drawn into in the way that I was talking about in the beginning of the episode. Like, this is terrible. Our children are at risk. I need to do something about this. And may have come into it even through one of the legitimate organizations and then started following one of those hashtags, which led her to QAnon. And now she's in it. And I spoke with a family member of hers about her experience having someone in the family who's going through this. And,
basically just isolate him or herself. I don't want to.
Yeah. And it's really sad because I know that this person is a good person in her heart. Like, it's not, and it's just sad. It's sad to see this happen. And that's why it's very much related to what happens when someone joins a cult and you just can't pull them out. It doesn't matter what you say. There's always an excuse. There's always a reason. There's always some way that they try to logic their way out of it, even though it's totally illogical.
Right.
And but I think that's one of the biggest concerns when it comes to Congress and the election and all of that, of setting this straight, is because organizations that have been trying to stop sex trafficking and deal with this as a legitimate issue that it is,
right,
for all these years now, their tip lines are getting flooded, their hashtags are being taken over by illegitimate information that doesn't help them and actually can halt their investigations and stop them from being able to do this important work. So it's having the complete opposite effect of what people who ascribe to QAnon, trying to protect children and everything. They're actually halting the efforts of organizations who were previously doing this successfully before QAnon got in the way.
Yeah, and I think they would argue we're doing something rather than nothing, even if they're incorrect. These leads, quote unquote, at least we're trying. At least we're making an effort to do something good. I think that's what they would say.
But the organizations themselves, and that's what I find so fascinating, is this person, she does post things from the legitimate organizations as well. And those I just quickly went to their page, and right away I saw a statement on their social media accounts and on their website condemning QAnon and saying, please do not confuse us.
They want you to
No, but she celebrates their success when they successfully rescue children, and she reposts it like, this is great, we did it. But then she also reposts QAnon stuff, and
So,
that organization
again,
is saying
any denial of their involvement with QAnon to the QAnons means they're involved. It's just behind the scenes.
that's so crazy to me.
They can't alienate their, sort of position in society, they being these organizations, by admitting outright that they're part of QAnon. I don't think this.
I know.
This is what a QAnon would argue.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe.
Look, I don't get it either. I don't understand that. I mean, of course I understand why it would be a great thing to support organizations that combat sex trafficking rings.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great, but to me, it's that level of, I don't know, evil is bipartisan, right? It's not left or right. It's just terrible people, right? It's not dependent on their political views.
Sure.
Whether you want to rape kids
There
or
can
not.
be evil in any...
Right.
Yeah,
So
I know what you're
why
saying.
is it 100% dedicated to the left, right?
I also don't understand why it's 100% centered around U.S. politics when it's supposedly a global thing. Why is the cabal all U.S. politicians, Democratic politicians.
Yeah. I don't know. And the thing that I wonder about this was with any other conspiracy theory, who benefits? I understand when it comes to the election, that's what we're talking about. Obviously, the support of this Donald Trump is benefiting. I'm saying those that set up the conspiracy or believe in the conspiracy, if they sit back and they say, okay, who benefits?
Okay, well, this only came about in like 2017.
I understand
after
that.
he was elected.
I get it. I'm saying who benefits by, so when it comes to flat Earth, you want to believe in flat Earth, and let's say for the sake of argument that this is legit. Let's say for the sake of argument that the Earth is flat and the people in the Illuminati are pushing that the Earth is round. Okay, what benefit does that grant to the Illuminati? That the citizens of the world believe it's round. And what are you getting?
Right.
What power?
Or what are we losing by believing that the Earth is round?
You convinced us that the Earth is round. Okay. Oh,
yeah.
It does not affect how I live at
Right.
all. Does not affect my day-to-day life at all. So if you want to believe in this, giant cabal, sex trafficking ring, whatever, okay, let's assume that's true, right? And, obviously the people that benefit from this are those that are part of the ring, but why are they only on the left? That should tell you something.
Yeah.
It really should tell you something that, look, it's only these people over here, only them.
Right.
Everybody that's a Republican or a conservative, they're great.
Yeah.
Doesn't that tell you something?
Well, I wonder what they think about the bipartisan co-sponsors of the House proposal.
Either they're a part of the elite,
but that's not just because they're a Republican, they don't automatically assume that they're great because
those that
or unless
don't
they're moles
believe in it, or that was my second option. Those that deny QAnon doesn't think that. For instance, they don't think you and I are part of the cabal.
Right.
We're not powerful enough to be part of the. We can't afford it.
They just think we're blind to it.
We just can't afford it.
Yeah.
But those in positions of power, and oddly enough, Tom Hanks is a part of the elite. He's part of the head honchos of the sex trafficking ring, apparently. I don't fucking know.
Is it because he had COVID? He did have COVID early
on. Yeah, he
on.
did. Him and his wife. But I don't know. It's to me, the smoking gun here to prove that it's bullshit is Epstein. And I get that Epstein is, what can fuel it one way or the other. But the fact that Donald Trump was close and, gave him a pretty, lenient or allowed the judge to give him, there's a connection there. It should tell you something. There was
and
pictures.
What he said just recently about her name is escaping me right now.
The girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah. When he was
I
asked
wish her
about,
well.
Yeah.
But he's a mole.
Right.
That's
he can't say it.
Yeah, he's doing the Lord's work here. So to me, it's just, why is it just the left? To me, it's just, I don't know. And the fact that this is getting popular and it's exploding at the worst possible time, because in 2017, 18, 19, you had these periods of just normality that, people are addicted to their devices and they're on it all the time, sure, but they didn't have as much free time in their hands due to job losses or whatever, depression, because of COVID.
Right.
And when you have this global instance or situation such as COVID happen, that's going to fuel a lot of anxieties, right?
Well, and people are relying on social media to connect with people,
and
because we're not doing it in person.
And more and more, especially those that have lost their jobs or, when you have this cocktail of boredom, depression, and misinformation,
anxiety,
and topping it off with lacking the research skills to sort of sift through bullshit and the lack of proper education to recognize those things, you have that cocktail. It's a perfect storm. It's an absolute perfect storm. And again, I don't want to generalize, but when you see the people that are involved with QAnon, at least to me, I'm thinking, you fit the bill. You look like you would be part of QAnon, or you believe it. You seem like that type of person. And I'm sure there were conspiracy theories before that you bought into as well, such as flat earth or anti-vax or 9/11. Don't you see
know,
a pattern here?
Yeah, and I was just saying that to you today, I think. Was it today? Yesterday? Whenever I went grocery shopping and I noticed.
It was yesterday.
Yeah, there were, for the first time since the pandemic started, multiple people in the store blatantly, shamelessly not wearing masks, just emboldened.
Right.
For the first time since March. And I said to you, I'm like, it's people keep trying to say we can disagree, or like people are trying to say that certain things shouldn't. Why does everything have to be political? Right? Like, but this is a perfect example. Like it's 100% political because they're making everything about the left being bad and the right.
Under the guise of don't you care about kids?
Right. And I guess my whole thing about the grocery store is that it's like about me making assumptions about people. I'm sorry, but if I see you in a public place just brazenly not wearing a mask and obviously just not giving a shit and having a smirk on your face because you know you're pissing people like me off, I know you're a Trump supporter.
Yeah, but you're
and
a
you're probably a
snowflake,
QAnon.
then. You're a
right.
fucking snowflake.
Yeah, exactly.
To them.
Like it's just come to a point where like I try not to stereotype people and I try not to make assumptions, but I just feel like it's so obvious at this point.
I think we're in the stage now. And again, I don't want to draw battle lines here, but it's really hard for me to find those that are, operating under the COVID suggestions or protocols in some cases. Those that are, maybe some of them are hardcore Republicans. Maybe some of them just, I think you can be a hardcore Republican and believe COVID is a legitimate threat.
Of course. I'm saying the other way around. I'm saying if you don't think it's real or you think that it's a method for the government to control us all, to cover our faces and we're all just sheep for wearing our masks.
Chances are you're
or maybe an anon. I mean,
or you're neutral.
I don't feel like I feel like even neutral people are like, well, I'm going to err on the side of doing what everybody else is doing and like at least making it look like I'm a responsible member of society.
I can see it on both sides saying I don't give a shit. I'm just doing what I do.
Maybe.
I get it.
I'm starting to get to the point where I don't feel as guilty about making those assumptions because it just seems like over and over again it's reinforced.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel dirty saying that, I can just tell, you see their posters and they have the fucking don't tread on me snake thing, serpent, whatever. It's classic. You aren't an individual. You aren't unique. You are just a carbon copy of the person that's in your group. You're
While
all
you
the
call
same.
everybody else sheep.
And maybe I am a carbon copy of someone that, believes in facts. Okay. I don't even know how to put that, I can't. And I really feel like right now, because of, the state of the internet, how unregulated it is, and I'm not even sure I'm for regulating the internet because I think that can lead to really dangerous consequences.
Well, we'll probably talk about that next week.
Well, we also brought up in the beginning of this episode how North Korea sort of has a stranglehold on the information. I don't think it would get that far, but it is something that is in the back of my mind that I fear if the government had the ability to regulate the internet and not have as much of a free, open internet that we do, it could lead to something like that, especially if it's in the hands of someone like Trump.
Right.
You can't access CNN. I really don't. But
or you can't have the words climate change
right,
on a government website.
So again, I'm not for regulation of the internet, but I do believe we are in a period of time where we're the fucking products of an experiment that's not necessarily conducted by anybody, right? So we are going to be the group of people, or rather this generation, that people look back on and say, what the fuck were they doing? Because you have all this misinformation shooting back and forth on both sides. Eventually it's going to come to a head, and eventually there's going to be something that's going to have to be done about it. And we're just the products of that, right? It's like the first car, right? I'm sure there were a lot of deaths as a result of the first car, right? And or the first whatever.
It's continued to evolve because
something, right?
Safety measures evolve constantly.
People are going to die when you invent something new. And now with the birth of social media and people are home and stuff, it's a perfect storm. And we're the guinea pigs. We're going to be the product of whether or not these things need to be sifted through and say, okay, it's gonna have to be regulated.
Mm-hmm.
We're, for the most part, and I'm guilty of this too, we're all acting like children when it comes to the internet. We're just spouting back and forth about, oh, you're wrong, or you believe in this, or you had this opinion, you're a fucking idiot, or you're stupid. Some of it is true, but eventually it's just becoming so toxic that we need a parent to come in and say, you two are separated, or we're going to figure this out, or we have to come to a solution so we can live. And the more and more people are operating on the internet, which is what this world is heading to, the more and more we're going to need that type of solution. We're going to need a parent, a mom and dad, to say, no, we need to live. We need to be able to operate in this space where we're not, coming up in these groups and these cliques where it becomes dangerous. Think about if you were in your workplace and you have this, I don't know, say you're in a workplace full of 30 people and a group of 5 come over and say, these motherfuckers over here are trying to rape our kids. We need to put a stop to it. Immediately, that company would say, what the fuck are you guys doing? We need to have an open dialogue as to what's happening, or you're fucking gone.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to happen. We need to come to an agreement. And I know it sounds so preposterous to say, but it needs to come to I know I'm rambling, where it needs to start at the baseline as to what we agree truth is. Like, you need to deconstruct it all the way to the bare bones and say, literally, do we agree 1 and 1 is 2? Okay. And you just keep going. And do you agree that the earth is round? Okay. Do you agree that rain exists and it's not Hollywood and the moon's up there? Okay. And we just keep going until you get to these conspiracy theories, because once you introduce these previous facts to someone, they're going to say, but look, you already believed over here that all this is true. All of this can't be true if you believe this.
Right. What makes you believe all of that, but not these other facts?
So if you believe this, which all the shit before it proves that it's false, either all that shit is false or this one thing is false. What's more likely? That one thing is false. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. And unfortunately, those that buy into conspiracy theories, that's the remedy. You have to deconstruct reality all the way down to its bare bones, to the point where, do you believe what you are perceiving is reality?
Yeah.
And it sucks. Yeah. That's the only way to quote unquote fix this problem.
I know. That's why I feel like all of the social media platforms are just scrambling to they're trying to, put the toothpaste back in the tube. Yeah. Like, they didn't foresee this explosion of misinformation and all of this phenomenon happening the way that it did. And now it's like just a constant backpedal of trying to rein it in and control something that's really uncontrollable.
And it's out of the bag.
It is. And and I feel like any step they make, I mean, we'll talk about this next week with PC, I guess, but people are just going to complain that it's taking away their freedom of speech, or it's like when they took Plandemic down, it's like, oh, well, that's because they don't want us to know. It just adds to it just fuels the conspiracy even more. So it's like a lose-lose from that perspective.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I said something similar on the climate change episode we did a while ago about environmental regulation and how, I feel like at some point, yes, there's, even if you generally believe in small government and not having, large regulation in that sense, from a federal perspective, if we can't all play nice on an individual level and people aren't taking individual responsibility for things that affect everybody else in your community, in the country, in the world, whatever, shared resources that matter to us all and are important for people's health and livelihood, if we can't take care of it ourselves, if we're going to act like children about it and be irresponsible, that's the role of our government. And that's why we are allowed and have the right to vote for who makes those decisions, to help us make sure that we are a functioning society that takes care of our shared resources and isn't doing things that's going to cause harm to each other. And that's why we have laws. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm going down the rabbit hole too, but like, law and order is something that's supported from the conservative side. But when we talk about law and order from the perspective of things like environmental regulations, it's a problem.
Because they don't regard it as order. It's disorder. right? And
Or
I agree with you. I'm just saying that's the only remedy that makes sense to me. You have to deconstruct it all the way. It's like trying to find a problem in something that you set up, right? You set something up on your computer or something and you say, where did I go wrong? And you have to retrace all your steps back to the beginning, and you have to, reverse engineer everything.
Yeah.
And if you do that with someone that buys into these conspiracy theories, you say, it has to be the baseline first question. Do you believe what you perceive as reality? And if you don't, there's a problem. There is a psychological problem, disposition there that we need to address. And that if you don't, and again, maybe the Matrix is real. Who fucking cares? Maybe we're in Plato's cave. Who fucking cares? You're not going to escape, okay? You're just not. If you believe it, you're not. You're here. So you might as well make the fucking best of it. So if you believe that what you perceive isn't reality, I'm sorry. There's something tapped. There's something up. And you need to seek help. And I'm sorry, I'm not a psychologist. I took intro to psychology, so I'm a 1% expert on the subject. But I think anybody, with a functioning brain would agree that if you don't believe what you perceive as reality, something's up.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous. And so that's how you have to deconstruct it. And, for those that answer on the affirmative of that, okay, let's go to the next rudimentary question. It has to be treated like children. You have to. And you have to just go through the steps to say, where are you having a miscommunication with the world around?
Well, and that's the distinction of why it's now such an issue, and because it's becoming a like a public health crisis of this misinformation sharing, because it's someone who is in that state who, for whatever reason, has been sucked in and believes these things and thinks that they have valuable information to share with the rest of their social community, and they're putting it out on their social media thinking that they're doing something valuable, but they're really causing harm. Like, that's why it's because we have these platforms and our ability to communicate is so far and wide and easily accessible to almost anyone. That's why it's now an issue.
We've been going over an hour when it comes to QAnon and these problems, so we should just stop it here. Yeah. I think the segue or the preview to next week's episode when it comes to political correctness was a good one, way to end it. So, All right. Look, if you agree with us, or even if you don't, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to send us a message, or I know leaving comments on the YouTube is the thing to do now. If you want to, push, or I don't even want to say push. If you want to just talk to us when it comes to your beliefs, if you are a QAnon, sure, we'd love to hear it, but it goes both ways. If you want to lay it on thick to us, we're going to lay it on thick back. And if you're just going to ignore facts, we can't have a dialogue. I would like to have a dialogue, but if we're going to have one, it has to be open on both sides. Don't leave me fall of cabal as evidence. It's not. Don't do that. Give me facts.
I think it's worth noting, I tried to watch it.
It's ridiculous.
I tried. I got about 3 minutes in. There was within 3 minutes, there was an anti-vax propaganda, about mercury that's not true, and it's just awful.
And time travel and JFK Jr., whatever. But look, regardless, if you enjoyed what you heard and you want to subscribe to the show, we highly encourage you to do so. We're on all the major podcatchers. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. Again, we're on the YouTube. You can check us out there. Just subscribe. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, we encourage you to leave us 5 stars and a quick review. Really, if there's a review system or a ranking system on whatever podcatcher you're listening to us on, we'd really appreciate the full boat, the A+ or the Q+ or whatever. We'd appreciate the full boat. It encourages us to keep continuing on with this, and it makes us feel, I guess, like a conspiracy theorist, validated that we're doing something good. Why don't you remind them of the socials, please?
Sure. And another option is to leave us feedback or review on Facebook, facebook.com/whileshe'snapping. You can find us on Instagram @whileshe'snapping, or on Twitter @she'snappingpod, or you can send us an email to remain anonymous @whileshe'snapping@gmail.com.
Again, we're on all the major podcatchers. Please subscribe. If you like Facebook usage, I know you QAnons do, hit us up there. We're open for any sort of commentary. And again, all our episodes are released every Monday bright and early. They'll be right in your feeds right away. Next week, we'll be talking about political correctness. So if you have a position on us if you have a position on it that you would like to relay to us, we would love to hear from you, and maybe we'll even include it in the show.
Yeah.
Typically, we do. So until next week, thanks for listening. Peace.
Bye.